Alright, let's dive into what's shaping up to be a pretty intense stretch of weather across the U.S. over the next several days. A powerful storm system is setting up, and as it moves through, it's going to bring a lot of different hazards. We're talking about widespread severe weather, including strong, damaging winds, large hail, and the potential for tornadoes. On top of that, flooding is going to be a major concern, especially along the Gulf Coast, where heavy rainfall is expected to pile up over the next few days. And if that wasn't enough, we're also dealing with record-breaking spring heat, with temperatures soaring to levels we almost never see in March. It's all coming together to create a very active weather pattern, and in this forecast, I'm going to break it all down so you know what to expect. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. And make sure you watch the video until the end, because this is a storm that is no joke. Thank you for your support. Looking at the big picture, the severe weather threat isn't just a one-day event. This is a setup that will bring storms every single day for the next week or so. The pattern kicks off today with a broad area of marginal severe weather risk across the Central Plains and the Midwest, and then another area of concern over in South Texas. That Texas system is particularly noteworthy because there's a lot of moisture in play. That means we're not just looking at severe storms, we're also looking at a significant flooding threat. For today, the biggest things to watch are strong winds and large hail, which will be possible in both the Midwest and Central Plains, as well as down in South Texas. There's also a conditional, low-end risk for an isolated tornado or two. One of those areas of concern is just north of Kansas City, while another is further south, west of Houston, in far South Texas. The overall tornado risk isn't off the charts, but it's there, and it's something to keep in mind. As we move into Friday, the severe weather threat dips a little bit. In fact, if I had to rank the upcoming storm days, I'd say Friday is probably the least concerning of them all. There's still a marginal risk for storms in the upper Midwest and the Central Plains, as well as another one closer to the Gulf Coast. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a small upgrade to a slight risk near the Texas-Louisiana border, but as of now, the main threats remain strong winds and hail. There is still a small chance of an isolated tornado, but overall, it's not looking like a huge tornado day. Now, things start to get trickier as we get into Saturday. At first glance, it doesn't look like a major outbreak day, but that doesn't mean we're in the clear. The severe weather risk is conditional, meaning it all depends on whether storms are able to develop in the first place. If they do, they could produce large to very large hail, strong winds, and even a tornado or two. But there's a big question mark hanging over this setup, and that's the presence of a strong capping inversion. That's when warm air aloft creates a lid over the atmosphere, preventing storms from forming. If that cap holds, we may not see much storm activity at all. But if it breaks, storms could fire up quickly, and they could be significant. This is one of those situations where we'll have to watch how things evolve in real time. Then we get to Sunday and Monday, and this is where things take a much more serious turn. These 2 days look like the most concerning days of the entire forecast period. On Sunday, we have a massive slight risk zone stretching from the Ohio Valley all the way down into the Southern Plains and Dixie Alley. That means millions of people are in the zone for severe storms. This system has all the ingredients needed for trouble, plenty of instability, strong wind shear, and an overall environment that's very supportive of severe weather. I do expect that by tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center will upgrade at least part of this area to an enhanced risk, particularly near the Mississippi River Valley, where the setup looks most favorable. We're looking at all modes of severe weather here, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. And given the size of this risk area, this is going to be a widespread event. There's a very real chance that we could be dealing with a full-blown tornado outbreak, especially if everything lines up just right. Because of the scale of this event, I can almost guarantee that we'll be live on Sunday. There's just no way we wouldn't be, given how many people are in the line of fire. And then, right on its heels, we have Monday, which brings another large severe weather risk stretching from New Jersey and Pennsylvania down to the Gulf Coast. Again, the primary threats will be damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. This is going to be a long 2-day stretch, and it's hitting some very densely populated areas. There are tens of millions of people in both Sunday's and Monday's risk zones. While this might not be quite as intense as the tornado outbreak we saw back on March 14th to 15th, it's still a big deal. And unfortunately, the trends we're seeing aren't going in a good direction. Right now, it's looking increasingly likely that we're dealing with a significant severe weather event, especially on Sunday. Shifting gears for a moment, I also want to highlight the flooding threat in South Texas. The Weather Prediction Center has now issued a moderate risk for excessive rainfall both today and tomorrow. This means we could see several inches of rain in a short period of time, leading to dangerous flash flooding. Some areas are expected to see at least 2 to 4 inches of rain, but I think those numbers might actually be underestimating what's coming. If you're in South Texas, be extremely careful on the roads. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Flash flooding can be extremely dangerous, especially at night when it's harder to see water covering roadways. Now, let's talk about the big one. This is the system that's going to be all over social media soon, and you're going to start hearing a lot of hype about a potential tornado outbreak. I want to remind you, don't be scared, be prepared. We're still too far out to get into the exact details, but all signs are pointing to a significant severe weather event unfolding across the southern and central U.S. this weekend. Right now, it's hard to say if this will be more of a tornado outbreak, a large hail event, or a widespread damaging wind threat. But what we do know is that this is going to be a very active period of severe weather. The same ridge that's causing today's storms in the Pacific Northwest is going to open the door for deep moisture return into the Central Plains. That's going to allow heat and instability to build, setting the stage for severe storms to fire up. On Saturday, we'll have a broad warm sector stretching from the Central Plains into the Ohio Valley, with plenty of moisture but no major forcing yet. That means storms may stay more isolated at first. But by Sunday, we're looking at a much more dangerous situation, where storms could fire up in an environment prime for tornadoes. The concerning part is that this looks like it will be an overnight event, meaning tornadoes could be happening after 10 or 11 p.m. That makes this even more dangerous since nocturnal tornadoes are harder to see and harder to warn for. As we head into Monday, the system pushes east, bringing severe weather from New Orleans all the way to Virginia Beach. Right now, the main threats appear to be damaging winds and large hail, but we'll be watching for any tornado potential. As always, if we see anything that makes us think this could be a bigger deal, you'll be the first to know. This system is also going to bring some absolutely wild temperature swings. Today, we're seeing record highs in the Pacific Northwest, and parts of the desert Southwest will be near 100 degrees, which is unheard of for March. By Friday and Saturday, some areas in the central U.S. will be running 40 degrees above average. It's going to feel like full-on summer in places like South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota. That heat then shifts east, fueling our severe weather outbreak before a major cool down hits the west. Looking ahead into April, I think we're going to see a lot more severe weather. The Climate Prediction Center's long-range outlook shows a persistent pattern of above-average temperatures in the southeast, below-average temperatures in the west, and a very active storm track across the central and southeastern U.S. That's a classic recipe for more severe weather outbreaks. One thing this system won't be doing is helping the drought situation in parts of the southern plains. Even though Texas is going to get hammered with rain, areas like southern Colorado, the Texas Panhandle, and parts of New Mexico are still going to stay bone dry. That means the wildfire risk is going to remain high, and unfortunately, there's no sign of relief in the near future. There's also going to be a significant storm system impacting the Pacific Northwest beyond just the tornadoes and hail. This is shaping up to be an atmospheric river event, meaning Northern California and the higher elevations will see a ton of precipitation, with heavy snow in the mountains and flooding potential in the valleys. Even outside of the thunderstorms, the gradient winds alone are going to cause widespread power outages, not just in the Pacific Northwest, but even stretching into parts of the Intermountain West. There's just so much going on right now that it's honestly hard to organize all my thoughts in one video. And believe it or not, there's still more to cover, but I'll save that for tomorrow. Things are really ramping up, and I hope you're all staying safe. Remember, don't be scared, be prepared. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.